guess at this point, what do you like about this team, and what are you frustrated with that you're not further along?
What do we like? I like that our guys have a good approach about getting better and improving when they come to the practice gym to work. For the most part, I mean, there's like anyone else, everybody has their days, but I think our guys understand that there's a lot of growth that we can continue to make, and their approach has been good with that. Frustrated, I think, there's a lot of things we can point to that we, want to be better at and, need to improve and, have a sense of urgency about improving. Frustration is one of those things that, as I tell the guys, it's not going to get you anywhere. I'd rather you be angry, and have that sense of urgency. But let's see. There's a lot of areas that obviously we want to improve and get better at. I think our defensive consistency. We've had some really good moments. We've had some great stretches. I didn't think our last game was one of our better games defensively. Execution on offense, guys sharing the basketball. I think we've gotten better at getting the ball inside to our big guys. Jarrett's getting the ball more. I think Shaq's gotten the ball more. But now continuing to get better at that and improving when the ball does go inside, making the right play from there, and being able to attack without turning the ball over. We still on offense too many possessions that we don't get a good shot out of, and the goal is every time down to get a great shot. If we do that, we can certainly live with the end result.
Is anger something that guys either have or don't have in their?
Well, I think everyone has a different personality. And, players are a little bit different than coaches these days from the standpoint of they're just maybe more resilient, would be a positive way to put it. I think one of the real challenges is, on one hand, you sure don't want anyone to jump off the top of any buildings, all right? But on the other hand, it certainly should sting if you don't play as well as you want to play, or if your team's not able to get what you set out to get. And so it's a fine line between those things, and I think it's important to understand that if you lost a game or you didn't play well individually in a game, there is something you can do about it. Not necessarily about that last game, because that game's over, but you can certainly learn from it and grow from it and get better and make sure that there's certain mistakes that you can address and correct moving forward.
Coach, with the sense of urgency, is that something you need to push on them, or is that something they have to have within themselves?
I think it's always both. I mean, it's something that we do try to push on them on a daily basis. Again, it's in practice. I think there are certain things you can control in terms of a sense of urgency. In other words, hey, you're going to do this to a certain level in this drill, or you're going to get this number of stops, or else we're going to get on the line and run, or there's going to be some type of consequence. The game's not quite the same way, because you move on from one possession to the next, and you have a certain number of timeouts you can call, but beyond that, you're not really stopping. So yeah, I think as a group, our guys, and some of it is some of our younger guys, they just didn't know what they didn't know coming in, and they still have a lot to learn about what goes into winning and what goes into having a sense of urgency to do those things.
Is that an issue that is going to be hard to overcome, because Kendall and Shaq know that losing is unacceptable at this level? Do the freshmen get the importance of winning and losing, and how what they're doing right now in the grand scheme isn't acceptable, and that's not what they came here to do?
Yeah, I would be careful to assume that what any of those guys have in their mind, including anyone that's older or younger. Listen, when our guys take the floor, I know they want to win. There's a combination of things that go into that. I'll tell you who else wants to win, and that's the other team. So, tomorrow night when we play Oklahoma, you're going to have two teams out there of, in this case, young guys that have a desire to win. The question is going to be, like any other game, which team's willing and able to do more of the things that go into it. I don't think our guys, I guess to answer your question, Brian, I don't think our guys feel like anything other than winning is acceptable. I just think we have a long way to go to understand the bridging that gap is what goes into it. What is the process that I have to own as a player to be exactly what my team needs to be. And then the other side of it is understanding that this is a team sport. So it's not as simple as if there's 5 of us out there on the court playing, I'm going to do my job, you do your job, you do. That'd be great. I mean, and that would make things a lot easier, but that's just not how it works.
When you're watching them, on the road, I think it's happened the last 2 games, that lack of response that you guys tend to have lately at home is, when you're watching them, what do you see that they're not doing that some of your more successful teams in the past have done? Is it as simple as experience, or is it personality, on-court leadership?
I think it's everything. I think it's all those things. I think, Dustin, it's a question of when you're playing any game, but particularly on the road, good teams are going to try to make a run. They're going to make some plays. The crowd's going to get into it. There might be some calls that don't go your way. Now you hit the nail on the head. The key word is response. And that's as a team and that's individually. And the other day at Oklahoma State, there were 2 stretches in that game where they went on big runs. And, really, if you look at it statistically, that was the game, even though that was, a small portion of the game time-wise. So we have to do a better job responding. And you can only respond, I believe, you can only respond as a group, as a team. It's not like one guy saying, okay, I'm going to stop this by myself. Maybe if you have just that dominant of a guy, you can do that. We don't have that, so it's got to be a group effort. And I think our guys obviously have shown that they've made some growth in that at home. Now it's about going on the road and doing it.
The shot selection, Shaka, the 3-point shot continues to be a big option or something that the guys are going to, and it's not going down.
Yeah.
4 of 23 in this last game when you're getting in the paint, Andrew's getting in the paint, Shaq, Jared in the paint, it's working for you. What are you telling them? You don't want to tell them not to shoot, but how do you rein that in?
It's a fine line, and I think there's within that you can break it down a little bit more because we're always going to want our good shooters to take an open 3-point shot unless there's some specific situation which sometimes comes up in games where you want to be a little more choosy. But if we just stop taking those, then teams can completely just pack it in and sag in the lane. Now, there are some that maybe are rushed, or maybe a guy shoots and he's not quite ready to shoot, or he doesn't shoot with the proper discipline. Those are shots that are not high percentage shots. They're not high quality shots. And then there's some that we end up taking at the end of the clock kind of out of necessity. So that first segment, that first group of shots, we want our guys to take those with confidence, step in, the ball's moved around. And there's been games this year where that's been really good for us. Now, obviously, guys like Eric Davis, Jacob Young haven't shot the ball as well as, they certainly would like or we would like. But I think more importantly for us is those next 2 group of shots, which is not shooting it the right way, not having the same discipline that you need to have or that you practice, or getting to the end of the clock and not creating a good enough shot.
Speaking of Jacob, is he rushing it? Because, I'd be willing to bet you guys watching him in practice, he probably knocks those down at a much higher rate.
He really does. He we do this drill called 3-minute shooting, which is on the move shooting, and we did it. Him and Eric did it the other night before the Oklahoma State game in their practice facility, and he almost set a program record. He was like 3 or 5 points away from it. But so it's a matter of him getting in the game. The difference is in the game, you don't take 30, 40, 50 shots in 3 minutes. You know, you take, in the case of that game, I think he took 4. And sometimes they're spread out. Shooting it the right way, shooting with discipline, shooting with confidence. This has been a really challenging stretch for him because I think anytime a guy's been a good shooter and put up a lot of numbers, and then you get in a situation where you're not able to do that for a stretch of games, it's tough on your mind. We're trying to help him kind of navigate that and play through that. We believe he can be a really good player at this level, but he's going through some confidence challenges that a lot of freshmen go through, and I believe if he keeps working and keeps getting better, which he has in practice, eventually it will carry over in a game.
Do you have someone on your staff work the offense primarily and someone work the defense primarily? How do you divide that?
We divide it up different ways in different years. What's more important is the positional divisions. So we have guys working with different positions, and then different guys on our staff have different scouting responsibilities. But the bigger division is that we have set up is like Darren Horn. He works with the bigs, for instance, and he works with them on offense, defense, everything.
The struggles on the road, has that become bigger than just the one game you guys are playing for this team?
What do you mean?
Is it a mental kind of hurdle now that it seems like you cannot turn it?
I think for our guys, there's kind of 2 levels of thinking. On one hand, and we talk about this all the time, what goes into winning anywhere. It doesn't matter where the game is played. But on the other hand, there is just the reality of, having not been able to come out on top on the road. So I don't know that it plays on their mind during the game, but I think our guys are certainly aware of that, and there's a sense of urgency to change that.
Who's your best perimeter defender?
Who's our best perimeter defender? Depends on the day. It should be Snoop or Andrew, but those guys have to get more consistent. Kerwin's had some really, really good games or stretches where he's been phenomenal on some of the better perimeter players around. Now, even going back to last year in the Oklahoma game at home when he guarded Buddy Hield. But again, he has to gain consistency. I think part of it is for all those guys making that part of your identity. And the reality is, coming out of high school, it's not necessarily on top of the list when you're describing who you are as a player. So that's something that those guys have made progress in. I think Andrew's made progress over the course of his freshman year. He's gotten better on defense, but he still has a ways to go with that, and he knows that, and we talk about that a lot.
Do you tell Kerwin he could be the best defender in the Big 12?
All the time. I mean, I showed him actually a friend of mine who is a former NBA GM after one of our games where Snoop was really, really good on defense. I think it was the first Oklahoma State game because Snoop only shot 3. He only had 3 field goal attempts in that game. But my friend had texted me and a really, really positive text about Snoop and what he could do if he made that his identity. So we got to keep growing in that area.
Is there any kind of formula you guys use for threes? I mean, it's such a big part of it. If you're not getting 30 or 40 transition points or having guys that can just eat up the paint, is there some kind of formula that needs to happen to be successful with the three?
I think it's about getting high quality threes, Roger. I think there's not a specific number that you have to get to or want to get to. Now, in a game like the other day against Oklahoma State, if they make 10 and we make 3, that's a 21-point difference to overcome in other areas. So you better get to the foul line way more than them. You better make a lot more twos. You better turn them over more times. And obviously we didn't do those other things enough if you get outshot 10-3. But it's just about getting high-quality shots, whether it's a 3 or a 2. To be honest, I know you asked about formulas, but it's really about coming down the floor. First of all, if we can score in transition, we want to score in transition because we have some guys that can create good shots that way. If it's a wide-open 3 for Eric Davis when the ball's been thrown ahead, or Andrew Jones, we want those guys to take that shot with confidence. Then we want to get on the glass if they miss. And then if we're executing something in the half court, we'd like to get the ball in the paint one way or the other, whether it's through a drive or through a post feed, and then play from there.
Do you feel like Andrew and Kerwin should be further along at the point guard position than they are?
I don't really deal in shoulds. I mean,
Kerwin looks like he's been thinking a lot out there instead of, he's reacting instead of just playing. I mean, just take us through his mindset at that position.
Well, I think it's a journey for those guys, and they have some things in common, but they also are individual cases. So I probably want to be careful to lump them together. Although there are certain areas for growth that they both have in common. You're right. I think for Snoop, where his focus is during the game goes a long way into how successful he's going to be as a floor leader, as an extension of the coaching staff. Sometimes it's as simple as just putting your focus on whatever the plan is on that possession. But in order to do that, there has to be an ability to maybe let go of the last play, whether it's a missed free throw or Snoop can be, in some cases, hard on himself or get down if the last play didn't go a certain way, if he missed a free throw or missed a shot or missed a finish, or if a guy scored on him. But no matter who you are, you have to be able to respond and move on to the next thing. I think what great point guards have in common is they do have a clarity about them where they understand here's what my team needs on this possession, whether it's offense or defense. It starts with communication and being able to get everyone on the same page, and then doing everything you can to create the execution for your team.
I know you guys look at a lot of numbers. Looking back at Oklahoma State, do you see James's plus minus and kind of say, well, maybe I need to look again at what he was doing, why he was so much higher than everybody else? Yeah,
we do, Dustin. We look at plus minus a lot. We look at that for individuals. We look at different lineups, combinations, 2-man combinations, 3-man combinations, or all 5 guys. The hard thing with college basketball compared to the NBA is there's not the same level of data. Yeah. And then when you take one guy that's playing major minutes and midway through the year he's no longer playing with you, whether it's Cam Ridley last year or Tevin Mack this year, then most of that data from before that kind of goes away. But certainly with James, he's had some games where he's really helped our team win, and he's done a lot of things that have gone into winning that go beyond his individual stat line. Now, in that game, he had 6 points, 5 rebounds, which is significant for the number of minutes he played. But even in certain other games where he hasn't had significant numbers in those areas, he's still really, really helped us. And I think that's a good sign for him for the future.
Last time you played Oklahoma, Doolittle and Augusta had their biggest games. What do you have to do playing them to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah, those guys are good players, and I think they're obviously going to take an aggressive mentality because of the way that they played last time, and because of Woodard's injury. So we've got to just make sure. The thing with Doolittle is, he really got it going from outside, shooting the ball. That wasn't really his MO coming into that game. I think he's, since that game, hit about the same number of threes as he hit in that game. So what you have to do is make a choice. Obviously, he's capable. He showed that against us. And He's got a good stroke, but he's also good putting the ball down on the floor. So he's a matchup challenge because he can play on the perimeter and do some things, but he's also very strong and very physical. You could switch that ball screen where that he was popping from, but now you're putting a guard on him. And they're very good at, once you do that, taking him down in the post. So, those are all things as a coaching staff for us to figure out.
Where do you see Shaq in terms of being, in your scoring options? Jared, number one.
Yeah. He's up there. He's high up there. He's made a lot of progress. He's really grown in terms of his sturdiness as a player on our team. And his conditioning, obviously, we've talked about that a lot. We don't really rank the options. If we did, you're right. Jarrett would be the first one. I think getting the ball inside in general is up there high. And so whether it's Jarrett, whether it's Shaq, those have been, in most games, really, really good for us when the ball has gone into those guys.
Because, the second half, he doesn't attempt a shot, I don't think, in the Oak State game.
Yeah, now he wasn't himself in that game, and I think he would tell you that himself. So the one thing, again, I know it's your guys' job to simplify, but be careful comparing Shaq in that game with Shaq in certain other games. And, if you notice, you look at minutes, we ended up playing James, a lot more in the second half compared to him. But he had a great practice yesterday. I think he's really motivated to move forward, and he's the best guy we got at being about the other guys around him. I think he has a comfort level in his own skin that some of those other guys don't have.
Was it, when you say he wasn't himself, was it physical or mental or?
No, I think it just wasn't one of his better games.
2 of your last ones?
Can you wrap your mind around 99 straight wins and 146 out of 147 wins with UConn's women have going into tonight?
Wins that game tonight?
Yeah.
I haven't put much thought into it, Raj, but
I didn't think you had, but
I mean, it's a definition of excellence, and I think no matter what the sport is, it doesn't really matter. I mean, they've been better every single time, and I think to do it often is impressive. There's obviously a lot of teams in men's college basketball that do it very, very often, but to do it every time is a whole different level, and they don't really seem to be showing many signs of slowing down. I do think one of the things that's maybe different or unique on that side is, and I don't have a lot of, I don't really study that side or have a lot of experience on that side, but it seems like recruiting-wise, they've been at a high level for a long time. And the one thing that's maybe a little bit different is you have maybe more continuity on that side than you have on our side, just with the one-and-done dynamic with the best players. And so I think they've really capitalized on that. They've done a great job building a culture and a system that it seems like year in and year out perpetuates itself. And that doesn't guarantee winning by any stretch. They've still had to go out and win those games. They play South Carolina, right? Where is that game at?
UConn.
Yeah. Well, from the small experience I've had with Dawn Staley, I mean, that's she'll have her team ready. So I'll be with our guys working on us, but that'll be fun to watch for whoever watches.
Any update on Tevin, and can you sort of give us an update on where the team's chemistry is?
Tevin's no update on Tevin. He's in the same position he was in before. In terms of the team's chemistry, are you asking like relative to before his suspension or just in general?
Both.
I think our team's chemistry is improving. I think our team could certainly stand to, like a lot of teams, continue to learn more and more about each other and about what makes each other tick. One of the things you hear about veteran teams is, hey, we've played together for a while. We know where this guy likes the ball, or we know, what this guy's tendencies are. I mean, Andrew Jones and Jared Allen are just starting to get to know each other, and those are the guys, two guys playing better than anyone else on our team. So that's just one example. But I think those guys have a better chemistry together, certainly, than they did 2-3 months ago.